Geek Therapy Radio.
Welcome to the Geek Therapy Radio podcast. I am your mental curator, Johnny Hemberger, and I did have a story for today that I will probably hold until tomorrow about the time that Johnny Carson almost ran over my mom with his DeLorean. But I will save that for a later date, probably tomorrow. The reason why I'm saving that story is because of something that happened to me on my way home tonight from work. How I met a real life angel. It's really an inspirational story, so you're going to want to listen to all of this here on this podcast. I know you usually do, but this one is really special to me. It's one of those stories that kind of stops you in your tracks. When this guy told me his tale, it stunned me. I stood there just for a moment, just in shock of what he just told me. I couldn't believe just the nature of this man. So before we get into that, I need to start at the beginning and set this all up. So recently, I've been driving the Toyota MR2 Spider back and forth from work. It is actually for sale. I think it's time to let her go. She's a fantastic car, just an absolute blast and a joy to drive. I'm not going to sell you on the car, but it just Toyota MR2 Spider. It's a mid-engined, affordable mid-engined roadster. Drop-top roadster, and it's got a bulletproof engine. You know, it's the same engine out of the Toyota Corolla, but in a car that weighs much less. The car weighs less than 2,000 pounds. The engine is behind you, mid-engine, in front of the rear axle, with almost no weight over the front wheels. The weight distribution is perfect. It's not 50-50, but the weight distribution is almost perfect for a mid-engine car, if not perfect. You get all the driving dynamics of, say, a mid-engine Ferrari or Lamborghini, but at one, I would say 1/10 the cost. I think the asking price for my MR2 is just below $4,000, and that's extremely fair. You can go to Auto Trader right now and look at MR2 Spiders, but again, I'm not trying to sell you on it. I just really like the car. I really like the car a lot. It's the best handling car that I have ever driven. It is just a blast, and I would rather sell it to a friend or a family member so that I know where it is and I can go visit it than a complete stranger. But if it goes to a good home, then I'll be happy. So I've been driving it around for the past couple weeks or so because Rowdy, my 2010 Audi S5, one of the last models with the true V8, small block 4.2 V8, glorious. It needs a new starter, and it's expensive, and we just bought a house, my wife and I, so I'll just be frank, I can't afford it. I can't afford to put a new starter in it right now. I have 3 cars, so I'm, just do the math there. I'll sell one of the cars, the Toyota, and use that money to pay for the replacement of the starter. The starter is going to cost, over $1,000. If you probably in between $1,000 and $2,000. Usually, a starter in a normal car would cost a few $100. The part alone is $100, $150, around $200 maybe at the high end for a starter. And the labor in a normal car, for instance, if the starter went out in my Toyota Spider, MR2 Spider, that in and out cost and labor, $500, no doubt. It's super easy to get to. In the Audi, where they shoehorned a V8 into an otherwise small engine bay, working on anything in that engine sucks. And the starter is underneath the engine. You have to drop the engine out. You have to remove a lot of the front end. You have to remove the entire front end to get to it. You have to remove some subassembly off the frame to drop the engine enough to be able to access the starter. So the cost for the starter is cheap. The labor for it is, I think it's an 11-hour job. So it's quite expensive. So I have the DeLorean, which is not for sale, which hopefully, hoping to God, it'll never be for sale because it's a nest egg thing. It's a member of my family. At this point, it's not for sale. But the Spider, I got that after my divorce when I wanted something a little bit safer than a motorcycle. The Spider can go. So I was driving it to work this morning and I needed gas. One thing about the Spider is that when the needle shows a quarter of a tank, that means I need fuel. I know by the odometer that around in between 250 miles and 300 miles, I need to fill the tank. And on my way to work this morning, I stopped at a gas station to fill the tank, knowing that I was basically running on an indeterminate amount of fuel, probably running on fumes. But the little card reader and the keypad to put in my PIN number at the gas station this morning didn't work. So I was already running late to work. I wasn't late to work, but I was running late, and I just left. I didn't put any gas in it, and I was just hoping that I would have enough fumes to at least get to work. And this is my fault, but I was also wishing that I had enough gas to make it back out to Missouri City where I live, because the gas is a lot cheaper. And remember what I said at the beginning, just bought a house, don't have a lot of money right now. So I'm watching my funds. I got leaving work, all was well, and then the engine chugged. I was maybe 5 miles away from home. The little sputter in the engine. Oh crap, I'm running out of gas. Oh, please just make it to the next, quarter mile down the road or whatever, so I can get to a gas station, half mile, whatever it was. No, I wasn't having it. And this particular lane, the road, Highway 90, for those of you who live in Houston, doesn't have much of a shoulder. And I have told friends and family and myself and my wife that if I break down on the freeway, if the car is mobile, then I will get it off the freeway, even if it incurs more damage to get it off the freeway. So let's say I shred a tire. I am not changing a tire on the side of a freeway on the shoulder. That is suicidal. I would rather drive the car down to the rim, shatter the rim, and be driving on the bare brake rotor to get it off the freeway to address the issue, or call a tow truck. I am not, if I can avoid it, I'm not sitting on the freeway. Back to Highway 90, for those of you who are in Houston, it's the wild, wild south down there. The posted speed limit on US 90 is 55, but you'll get your doors blown off if you don't do at least 65, 70 miles an hour. People fly down US 90 regularly going 100 miles an hour. Not me. I'm not self-incriminating myself. I would never do that. It's insane. The road is not designed for that kind of high speed. The reason why it's a 55 mile an hour speed limit is that the road undulates. There's lots of kind of overpasses and lots of entrances and exit ramps and stuff like that. 55 is a good number for that road. Believe me. It could be 60. I think certain sections of it can be 60. But the point is, you do not want to pull over on that road because there's a very tiny left shoulder. People are going 100 miles an hour. There is no right shoulder. So I did not want to break down on that highway. But I started running out of gas, and I was able to basically coast it onto on an exit and onto a feeder road, which is still people flying off Highway 90. They're not slowing down to go onto the feeder road. And I'm sitting there with my flashers on, doing my best to stay visible. And this is where I met a real live angel. A white pickup truck pulls over almost immediately before my car could coast to its stop, because I'm trying to roll it as close to... I didn't know if there was a gas station up there, but I just wanted to roll it. So before the car even came to a complete stop, a guy in a long bed pickup truck pulls right in front of me with his hazards on, and I'm thinking, oh geez, I'm gonna get, there's a certain fear there now. Strangers, it's in the pitch black, not dead of night. It was maybe 8:30 at this point, but it's dark outside. It's not very highly visible, so you got the traffic going around you. You're doing your best with the flashers on. Here's this mystery character pulling over, and the guy gets out. He is about 6'3", 6'4". probably 220 pounds. He's a big guy. Just to paint the picture, black dude, probably 60 years old, very short, like shaved salt and pepper hair, beard, salt and pepper beard, and the most piercing hazel eyes I have ever seen. Almost silver. His eyes were like a silver metallic gray almost. Just the most piercing eyes. And he gets out and he immediately starts helping. Is there a problem, man? How what's going on? You need some help? And I mean, yeah, man, I just ran out of gas. If is there a gas station up ahead? I can just push it. I didn't want to inconvenience him, but he's like, oh no, man, I've got a strap in here. Let's get you taken care of. So this guy is one of those people that has a pickup truck full of crap. Like there's 5-gallon paint jugs, tie downs, a gas can with no gas in it, unfortunately, chains, all sorts of stuff in the back of his pickup truck. And not only did he have a strap, which was a short, I would say 7-foot strap, which by the time 2 vehicles are put together, that amounts to some very hairy towing. Because, if you're just being towed or pulled by a strap, you need to be in the car yourself and really manning the brake pedal and, modulating the brake pedal so you don't crash into the back of the car pulling you. Anyways, in the back of his truck, he also had a couple of traffic cones with reflectors on it. They were beat up and they're kind of raggedy, but they served a purpose. So he even went out and put the traffic cones out behind the car. I have my flashlight, which I always carry on me, which is a godsend. It's one reason why I always carry it on me. I had my cell phone flashlight, and between him and I, looking out for each other, watching traffic. One watching traffic while the other is strapping the car in, hooking the car in, waving traffic by with the flashlight, getting their attention so that they don't just run in the back of us. We were taking turns doing things and just both looking out for each other. We got the car hooked up. A couple of cars, I would say, came too close to comfort because people just aren't paying attention, and they're, like I mentioned, they're driving way too fast. So there was at one point I told him, the man helping me, to, all right, back up, this guy's coming. So we bucked back and the guy kind of swerved out of the way. Not at the last second. It looks like the last second to us because he was going so fast. But we got the car hooked up, just no hassle. We both knew what we were doing. This wasn't either of our first rodeos, and it really helps that nobody had to explain anything to each other. We both knew the drill. We were both being as safe as possible. I was maybe 10 extra minutes late home. This was an ordeal that took 10 minutes flat to suss out. So the man, and I'll name him in a moment. I'm not going to say his last name because of the rest of the story I'm about to tell you. So he tows me maybe half mile up the road and through an intersection into an Exxon or a Chevron or whatever it was. And he tows me right to the gas pump. He didn't just let me off and say, good luck, pal. He pulled me right to the gas pump. And while he was towing me, I'm pointing out to the side of my car, the driver's side of my car, just to, give him the hint that that's where the gas flap is. And since he's one of those people that you just have, both of you know what you're doing. Both of you have this unspoken connection. He knew what I was saying without even saying it. Just my little finger, my hand kind of waving to the right side of the car, even before we got to the gas station, just so he knew. He pulled me right up to the pump, got out. I was pumping gas, and while he unhooked the strap, and I was like, man, let me put some gas in your tank at least. I wish I could do more for you, but at least let me put $10 of gas in your tank. And he was at first he was insistent, no, you don't have to do that, man. You don't have to pay for, good deeds or anything like that. And I was like, no, sir, I really insist. It's the least I can do. And he's like, okay. Also, part of the politeness is knowing when to, it's not charity, but knowing when to take a gift graciously. And this man knew that. He knew that I was going to push it and he wasn't going to fight it. So yeah, man, if you can spare it $10, that'd be great. You don't even a $2 or whatever you can spare. I don't want to be taking anything from me. I was like, you have already done so much for me. This is absolutely fabulous what you've done tonight. So I put a little bit of gas in his gas can. I put a little bit of gas in his truck. I put the gas in the gas can first, and I said, okay, now put $10 in your truck. He's like, no. So I was like, put $16. Run this up to $16. It was $6 of gas in the gas can. Run the till up to $16 so you can put $10 worth in your truck. No. So he's like sitting there flicking the gas pump to get it exactly to $10. Exactly to the penny of $10. So we're sitting there talking, and just for a moment, you know, I didn't want to take up his time. He's already kind of. It turns out it was kind of on his way on his way home, anyways. But you know, sitting there talking as guys kind of do, and he was telling me that he can't tell if his wife was in the truck with him, he would have passed me. He would have just kept going. And I was, oh, why is that? I can understand that. You know, it's kind of dangerous out here. You know. So I understand your wife's concern. He's like, well, back in 2011, I pulled over. This is the man talking. Back in 2011, I pulled over, helped some guys. They stole my wallet, took my car, cracked these ribs, and he pulls up his shirt to show me his just kind of like mangled rib cage. I'm like, dude, what? And that's what stunned me. It wasn't just that, you know, the sight of his broken ribs or anything like that. It was, you have been the victim of a crime. You did a good deed in the past that got you broken ribs, a stolen wallet, and a stolen car. I said, why did you? I could understand if you would have passed me. Why did you stop? Why did you stop when you know that it's dangerous? You have the scars from the danger. He basically said that he knows the man upstairs is looking out for him, and he's not going to let evil get in the way of doing good. And that just, it absolutely stunned me. I almost felt like crying. I just, it makes you reflect on yourself. I was just thinking, if I got mugged helping somebody on the side of the road, I don't think I would ever help anybody else on the side of the road. And this man, his name is Terry the Angel, as far as I'm concerned, is his name. Terry the Angel. With previous broken ribs from being mugged for trying to do good in this world. He didn't let that stop him from continuing to do good in this world. How many of us would do that in our own lives? How many of us, even if we have never been mugged and we've never been the victim of any violence or the victim of any crime, how many of us, including myself, asking myself, would just pass somebody who needed assistance? I will say, and I have to be honest with you guys, because this is, you know, Geek Therapy Radio is about sharing, and I always, you know, want to be honest with you. So I'm going to put myself in the place of a driver driving down the road. I know, just answering for myself, that if I was a single man, that is right after my divorce a few years ago, I know I would have pulled over and helped somebody in that situation. But if I'm honest, it would have been only if it was convenient for me to do so. You know what I'm saying? Like, if I was running late to work, I wouldn't have pulled over as a single man. I wouldn't have pulled if I was late. If I was on my way home from work with no time constraint, yes, I would pull over, or at least check on the driver. I've done that many times in the past. Are you okay? Even just leaving work, I'll see a car pulled over and I'll stop him. Are you okay, man? He's like, yeah, I've got the tow truck coming, or my wife's coming to get me. It's all good. Okay. So I check on people when when I'm single, but being married, or if you're a father, I'm not a father. How many of us would skip? And perhaps justly so. No one could fault you for it because the world is dangerous. You have a wife and kids waiting for you at home. I know that I personally would give a second thought. I know that now, just having my wife at home, that I would give pause to helping somebody out in the dead of night, in the pitch black, in a dim area. I would give pause. And I'm just being honest. You'd have to, I want you to ask yourself too. If you have a lot of people who depend on you at home, would you pull over to help? Would you be a good Samaritan? And that's a question that I can't answer for you. That's something that we all just have to ask ourselves. And I know the brutal honesty is that I know a lot of us wouldn't. But we would have justifiable reason. I've got 4 kids. I can't. That's so risky. Maybe at best you could drive by and you can call the police to tell somebody, hey, there's a car broken down in between the exit of Westheimer and Richmond or something like that. That would be a help. That's a good help in that situation. But how many would get out of the car? Even if you're single and you had nothing to lose, how many of us would get out of the car in the pitch black night, take on the risk of helping somebody? Terry has taken on that risk in the past, got beaten within an inch of his life, basically, had his identity, wallet, vehicle stolen, and this is a man that, you could tell that he is not a wealthy man. His body has been broken by doing a good deed. Yet he still pulls over for me. For somebody he doesn't even know, he pulls over and helps. It's just, it's stunning. It's absolutely stunning. The universe is weird. Sorry, I picked up an Allen wrench for some reason to fiddle with in my hands. The universe is weird. And I told Terry this, that yesterday, a little thought popped in my head, a little saying popped into my head. Every so often, a little anecdote or quote or some sort of philosophy pops into my brain. And yesterday, the little quote that popped into my brain was, "No good deed goes unpunished." And the reason why that little thought popped into my brain was something trivial, absolutely trivial. There's a video editor for a huge YouTube channel of over 9 million subscribers. It's around 9 million. It's just under 10 million subscribers, called Linus Tech Tips. And the head editor for that is a guy named Taryn Van Hamert. I forget his last name. I can't off the top of my head. But he's an expert professional video editor. And on Twitter, he shared a screen cap of a comment on one of his tutorial videos on color correction. The comment was basically that no one should take him seriously for his color correction guide, even though he runs a channel of 10 million subscribers, because the audio was hissy or wacky in one of the sections of his tutorial video. I was like, that has nothing to do with color correction. You are nitpicking and slamming and insulting somebody for something that has nothing to do. They're giving you something. They're giving you hundreds of dollars, if not thousands of dollars worth of free advice and lessons that you would otherwise have to go to film school to learn. He's doing this for free to help people. And yet you choose something to pick on and insult him over that has nothing to do with the good deed at hand. And the little thought popped in my head, no good deed goes unpunished. I told Taryn that. I don't know if he saw that, but no good deed goes unpunished. Here the next day, Terry did a good deed, got his ribs cracked for it, and wallet stolen, car stolen. He got punished for his good deed. but that didn't keep him from doing good deeds. He was not going to let evil get in the way, and this is his words, let evil get in the way of him doing good in this world. And I just wanted to share that story with you for whatever it's worth. I hope it helps you in some way, at least get some perspective, makes you think. That's the whole point of Geek Therapy Radio, is to not only share hobbies and passions and fascinating things and whatever I'm into that day, but actually, every once in a while we get philosophical on here, and I want to just leave you with something to think about, something that makes me better and you better. Even just the simple act of thinking and engaging your brain, it can do wonderful things. I like this episode. This is going to be one of my favorites. It's not any sort of tech geek story, but this one's going to be close to my heart, I know. Thank you for listening to Geek Therapy Radio podcast. Tune in tomorrow for the story of how Johnny Carson almost ran over my mom in his DeLorean back in the 80s. It's kind of a funny story. I don't know if there's any moral to that story, but that's what we're going to talk about tomorrow. Thank you for subscribing to the Geek Therapy Radio podcast. It would mean the world to me if you told your friends about it, maybe some family about it. Maybe you think somebody might be interested in the podcast, because there's no better advertising and promotion than word of mouth. That's just the flat out truth. And I would love you for it from the bottom of my heart. I already love you for just listening to Geek Therapy Radio. I don't feel like I deserve the listenership that I do get. I think I have 1,500 or 1,000 listeners each week, something like that. 1,500, 2,000 listens. I don't know. The show is growing. Going to 5 days a week has helped. In the past few weeks, I've seen the numbers stay consistent, and it's kind of up. And a little tidbit for anybody doing any sort of content creation, whether it's podcasts or YouTube or anything, the key is consistency. Just keep doing it, and do it regularly. Once a week, twice a month, whatever you're going to do it consistently. I took on the self administered task of doing a show 5 days a week, including the Saturday night broadcast. So it's just because I love what I'm doing. I'm a geek about this stuff. I love doing it. I love talking to the microphones and fiddling with audio editing software, video editing software. That's just me. Done rambling. Know that you are worthy of love. Know that we're all geeks about something. So it's an amazing thing, and I highly encourage you to embrace your inner geek. Be good to yourselves and others, especially after this show. Be good to yourselves and others. And I'll see you next time.
Geek Therapy Radio, Saturday night at 10 on KPRC 950. Or listen anytime on our iHeartRadio app.